Thanks, James. I'm here in the studio with New Zealand MP Brendan Burns. He's our MP for Christchurch Central. Some people are sort of voicing an opinion that they're a little bit concerned about multiculturalism, and they actually would like our cultures to stay pretty much European and Pacific Christian. What's your view on that?
Well, I think that people are always a little bit fearful of change, and change doesn't always bring everything positively. There are some downsides to any change, and obviously multiculturalism does bring with it a whole range of different issues that we have to deal with, quite complex issues around the way different cultures do things very differently to us. But, for instance, the Muslim community, which is quite well established here in Christchurch and across New Zealand, most of those people, and most Muslims around the world, are people who live quiet, orderly lives. They, put their families first. They're not, in any way connected to some of the extreme elements that one sees in Islam. And one has to say, it's not unknown for there to be extreme elements in Christianity.
Exactly.
These are facts of life, and I think that what is helpful, what is good, is that we have the exchange, we have the dialogue, the exposure to different faiths and creeds and cultures, learn through those, and strengthen our own sort of identities and creeds and faiths through that.
So thinking along those lines, Brendan, what are the dangers of multiculturalism?
Well, I think there are some there. Obviously, as I say, with any change, you're going to face some challenges to us. Obviously, people coming from, particularly from some of the harsher places in the world, have come through a really hard time. And often, they have been through refugee camps and challenges, and sometimes they bring quite attitudes that have been, seared through that.
Yes.
They can be very tough people at times because they've had to be to survive. But I go back to my own story, which is as a migrant. I came here at age 4 speaking another language. It happened to be called Liverpudlian, but nobody could understand me.
No.
I was given a bit of leg pulling and so on until I got to school, and then of course that disappeared, and because I just wanted to be another Kiwi kid. And most New Zealand children are the same, whether they've come from Liverpool or Lahore or wherever it is. The first thing what they want to do is be accepted by their mates at school, be just another kid.
Brendan, in keeping with what you've just said, how much should new immigrants adjust to our culture, or should we in fact keep adjusting to their cultures?
Anybody who comes to New Zealand has to accept New Zealand as their home.
Yes.
And it takes a long time. My parents, my mother passed away last year, but Dad's still alive, but they still talked about England as home.
Home, yes.
But the strange thing about that was my late father-in-law also used to talk about England as home, and he was a 4th generation New Zealander. So, we cling to, obviously England was our heritage for many of us.
Yes.
But even though I was born in England, I still don't have any real connection to England. I regard myself as 100% New Zealander.
Yes.
I talked about that first generation of migrant children.
Yes.
That we accept that very much. So obviously, first things first, you have to acknowledge that New Zealand is your home and your nation and your country.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean you abandon those things that are there in your psyche. I certainly find as I get older, I get more and more drawn to my roots. I'm becoming more Irish as the day goes on, and sort of looking again at the faith that I was brought up in and so on. So these things, they are a part of you, and they should never be denied.